Hi Cousin Donald, how are you going? Hope everything's going well. Now, getting back to that theme of uniting the free nations of the world, we think it's absolutely essential, and we think it's about time you did some headland speeches. Our disappointment in you is that although you're doing brilliantly in so many areas, we haven't seen you display your intellect yet. And we think some great vanguard speeches, or headland speeches, call them what you like, on topics of great interest. This will just shock the left because they have no real message. They have no economic message. The Democratic Party in the US is now the grievance party. Apparently there's been enormous white flight from it. And you know, it's all about homophobia and racism and LGBTIs and all that sort of stuff. But there's no economic message in it. There's no great hope in it. It's all bitterness. It's really a party in great decline, because if you don't have a message, eventually you don't have a party. But look, leave that lot alone for the time being. We're going to get on to how to make you the greatest, the domestic president ever. But getting back to defence, what you're doing really, if you're a true conservative, you're taking the best, the knowledge from the past. You know how great America has been in the past. If America and Britain at the end of World War II, well, of course, they were sick of war, they just want to get to peace. The United Nations sound like a great idea, turned out to be a hopeless mess. If they had put the best nations of the world together, the freest together in 1946, what would the world look like now? It could be an interlocking chain of social democracies. You certainly may not have had all the dreadful wars since, such as Vietnam and Iraq, that were in many ways, I don't want to go into that now, but were in many ways mistakes. I'm very willing to go into that later on as a student of history. But part of your function as Emperor, Cousin Donald, is to make beautiful speeches. Now, all this tweeting stuff is good. Your sharp replies to questions are very good, but we would love to see oratory from you, and we'd love to see the romance of the US presidency, the romance of America's most romantic country. We'd love to see those things in your speeches, spontaneous from the heart, because we don't think you can become a great American president unless you're a buff on the presidency, unless you can talk about previous presidents if they're your uncle or they're in the room, because you stand in the shadows of some great men. You stand in the footprints of giants. There's a couple of midgets in there, of course, but on the whole. So I think if you really, really study this, and you've got the brain to do it, you've got thousands of people who can do that for you. And if you get, I don't know, proper oratory taught to you by Shakespearean stage actors, you may already be doing that. But these are just suggestions. Anything that makes you a more impressive speaker is so important, because brevity and clarity are the twin beauties of correct English expression. Look at Benjamin Netanyahu. Isn't he an impressive speaker? Not a wasted word. Look at President Clinton when he was at his peak. Remember when President Clinton was asked about welfare? Did he go on and muck around and this and that and this and that? He did not. They said, Mr. Clinton, what are your opinions on welfare? And he said, welfare is meant to be a helping hand, not a lifestyle. A brilliant exposition of what welfare should be, and really there aren't any more questions you can ask after that answer. So we'd like to see you make some headland speeches. And also, this defence alliance of the free nations is absolutely necessary. You've just had some goofy left-wing president run the US military down shockingly and cause dismay in your whole military establishment. If, say, we have 8 years of Donald Trump, the greatest American president of all time, can't really be that, no one can beat HDR, but What's to stop another loopy lefty getting in the future and running the US military down? So what this new alignment of free nations, it is dramatic. This is really what the United Nations should have been. What this new alliance will do, it will lock the US president and the US in so that it doesn't drop its arms commitments. So the headland speech from you should mention these factors, your first headland speech, and this will blow the hell out of the lefties because they never expected you to take a new and creative and subtle approach and do something so outstanding. So, Donald, here's just a short headland speech. My fellow Americans and citizens of the world, this is Donald Trump, President of the US, speaking. Firstly, I want to speak to you about the most important thing that any US President can ever do, and that's the defence, not only of our own nation, the United States, not only the most powerful nation that's ever lived, the kindest, the most benevolent. There's never been a gigantic nation before that was very, very benevolent to others in the world. We're a first. We're a first in many ways. Silicon Valley, all those great inventions. We're first, of course. But what we have to think about, as a president, what I have to think about is not now, but the future. Because I am basically a conservative. And a conservative is one who takes the best from the past, arranges it into the present, and looks to the future. Now, when we look at defence, we live in an extremely interconnected world. No one nation can stand alone. The USA can't stand alone, China can't stand alone, Russia can't stand alone, Britain can't stand alone. No one nation can stand alone. The mistake the United States has made in the past has tried to be leader of the free world, the entire world of nations. We have an organisation called the United Nations, and that's where the whole of the world can talk to each other. What we're talking about here is the defence of the United States and the free nations of the world. In conjunction with all the other free nations of the world, we're forming a mutual defence pact whereby each nation, from the biggest to the smallest, will have rights and each nation will have responsibilities. There'll be nobody dying in wars, no sailor, soldier or airman. Because what will happen if a war occurs? The free nations, if any of the free nations are attacked, the other 88 or 89, however many free nations there are, Donald, will immediately freeze the currency, freeze the assets, freeze all trade with the aggressor nation, freeze the internet if we can. That's what we're going to do, and that will immediately avert a war, because there isn't a nation on the planet insane enough to take on the enormous number of free nations in the world. And that means that for the foreseeable future, not only will the democracies be free and helping each other as they should be. We belong with the other democracies. We don't belong with the countries who are not democracies. They're not our people. These are the people we belong with, and it is our job to keep the United States free and all the free nations free for as far ahead as we can project. Thank you very much for listening to me. This is my first speech on defence. There will be other speeches on other topics, because what my administration intends to do is introduce new and creative thinking to the White House and to our administration. In the last 16 years, our national debt has quadrupled and our national prestige has been badly hurt. It is my job as your president to look at all aspects of administration and see how we can improve everything in our own country and hopefully overseas with new and creative thinking. No one has ever put a defence pact together before like this for all the free nations. It is a first. And it's not directed against any other nations. It's there to keep us free. My number one job. Thank you so much for listening.